this working? Oh, how does anything work? Welcome back to our first crafting and crawler of 2025. I'm sorry it's a bit late today. I'm a bit disorganized, as happens when you've been away. You finally get back. But yeah, hopefully next week's will go smoother. But kicking off. While I was away, I did manage to do a bit of work on our tiles. So if I load this up, I've been working on our tile set. So we've got a nice transition between the grass and the path, and the grass and the water, and the path and the water. And I've been starting to slowly work on the sort of three-way transitions. And this is where I can really see the number of tiles we need is growing astronomically. And where I'm very thankful that we went this sort of offset grid approach, where we're just sort of a corner per biome. This gives, as we said before, this gives us what, 1, 2, 3, 4 by 4, so 16 tiles per combination, rather than, I think the alternative was like 49 or 140, something like that. I forget when we were first looking at it. So if I had to do that many tiles for these sort of crossovers, I think I would have just thrown in the towel and given up. To be honest, that would be far too much work. But yeah, I feel like these have come out quite nice. So we've got like a little edge against the water, and then we've got a little bit of a shadow underneath for things. We've got a bit of a dark shadow on this top here. And I've never really done much pixel art in the past, so this has been quite a cool thing, just experimenting. So yeah, we've got like the transition here. We've just been trying to give it like a more of an interesting edge, and then we've got like a little shadow on this top side, but not here. And then if we look at the water, for instance, we have sort of we have the shadow on this side, but not on the top. Yeah, so this side's all sort of sits over things, and the same with this sort of path ones. I've been trying to get the same working for the transitions between the 3 different types. So this would be if we have like a path here, and then a water here, and then the grass on either side. But yeah, and then I've been putting a pixel gap in between them as well, which makes it a lot easier to see where one tile sort of starts and ends and another starts. I've exported this into this out, and I think what I'm going to do is we need, because I've replaced the image, our map is now going to be a bit screwed. So I think first up we'll have a look and see if we can fix that up. Maybe draw ourselves a bit of a new map. Make use of all this this fancy new stuff. So if I launch tiled, and then let's switch the window over to that. So properties. yeah, so yeah, this has made quite a mess of our tiles. So if we're gonna need to paint in our terrains again because I mix things up a bit here. So we have our path tiles. And then the water ones are here. Here we go. Let's get those marked. So we've got water there. Oh, and we have water here as well. Oh. And then path. What did I mess one of these up? Didn't I? Oh, yeah, there we go. So then we can start to fill in some of these others. I need to change how the image works as well on this because this is based on us not having any gaps. But I actually changed it up a bit, didn't I? So tile set properties, I think is one, yeah. So in here, oh, we have the image, but can we not change that? It's in a little window. It's not actually showing, unfortunately, but they're 32 by 32. They're one margin and one spacing. If I do that, here we go. We have our tiles rendered correctly, and then we just need to mark in our terrain. So this is so as I said, this is still work in progress. So some of these are not quite ready. You can see some of them are just still boxes, but we do have I think every possible combination, which should mean that we get less of the weird artifacts we were getting before when we say get a path that runs up to gets a bit too close to the edge. To the edge of some water when there's grass around it and things. So yeah, so it's these little ones here that were what we're missing. Getting away also it gave me a chance to give some more thought to some of the other stuff around what we're doing. So as I've mentioned before, there's a bunch of things I'm not like 100% sure on. So one of the things I wasn't too sure on was how some of the mechanics were going to work. So I've known from early on that I wanted this to be a game with sort of a procedurally generated dungeons. That I want to generate these dungeons programmatically because that gives us I think that gives the game a bit more replayability, right? By having the oh no, that's path, isn't it? There we go. I need to update these as well. So terrains. How do I? Path. So this is use as terrain image. Grass, use as terrain image, and water, use as terrain image. There we go. That's them a bit more sensible now. I wonder if there's a thinking this should probably be brown, to be honest. Yeah, that looks a bit more. I might make this a bit. What if we go for a cyan? Is that going to be too in our face? No. Okay, that matches more closely our sort of colouring. And is there a... No. I'm just looking at some... I should put the actual colours from our palette into this, and then they'll match up a lot more. But do we have any? Oh, we missed one there. Got one bit more there and there. And is that everything? Is that everything marked up? Ah, no, there's grass there. And there. And this little island bit in the middle. And then I think we've got everything now. So, okay. So if we now save our tiles, this, yeah, as I said, this has made an absolute mess of what we had for the village. Sorry, for our map. I mean, it's not good. Well, I named this village because eventually we'll use this to draw the village map, but for now, it is basically just plain. So what we want to do is probably clear all of these. Can I? Let's set everything to water. Yeah, we'll set all the tiles to water. And now if we take the terrain, what is this? This is terrain brush, right? So yeah, so now we can sort of draw in. Yeah, that's already looking better, right? So we can draw in our sort of ground. Let's give it a bit. Let's put some more water. This bit I think I put a bit too much in. Let's move this away from the edge a bit. Maybe we'll put a little island in down here. Some more of this out. Yeah, now what we've got is we can actually sort of draw a path right up to the water. We could even have a path that sort of moves around here. There we go. Let's put some more grass in. Some of these. What was that? It feels like that's a tile that hasn't been drawn yet. That's why it looks a bit weird. So yeah, we got a bit of. It's a bit weird here, for instance, where I haven't yet drawn that corner tile, but otherwise, it's like we've now got a much nicer, much nicer transitions between the different types of tiles. Maybe we can expand this out a bit more, and we'll put a little lake in down here as well. But yeah, I am liking. I'm liking these new tiles. I think they've upped our game a fair bit, right? And the trouble we have is that as we if we change the tile set radically like this again, then it's going to create the same problem where we have to draw things. So what I think will happen going forward is we're just going to sort of expand downwards. So I pretty much had to start from scratch on these because I was sat on a plane, no access to the internet, and as expected, things hadn't synced across properly. So we're missing some stuff here. Let's see if we can make this a bit more tidy. Yeah, so I was sat on the plane. I didn't really have any internet access, so I couldn't really get to our existing tiles. But I could I have my iPad, and yeah, I have to say it's been kind of like nice and therapeutic just sitting there working on the tile sets on the iPad as well. Just sort of zone out, sit there, go pixel by pixel, drawing this stuff in. It's been nice and sort of chilling. There we go. That's looking a bit. So yeah, we've got a couple of tiles here that aren't perfect, but let's save that, and then if we export, that will update our files in the game. Oh. And if we go back to the code, let's see what we have. So if we give things a run, that is not what we're after. So what has gone? Okay, tileset file. So engine. Okay, engine tile map on, what was it, on line 40. Okay, so if we have a look at our map, okay, let's save and export this. Let's try it and export again. Here we go. Okay, there's something weird with how Tiled was exporting things there. So let's give it another run. Okay. Interesting. So we're getting some banding here, which means that we're not pulling in our tile set correctly. So if we go back to, this will be to do with how we are loading it in. So maybe I cannot remember what happened a few weeks ago, but maybe we skipped over some stuff. So if we have a look at, this. We were creating a texture at this, and this was data.margin. Data is the value from loading our tile set. So if we look at tiles.lua, spacing 1, margin 1, okay. So that seems like it should be correct. Where I'm putting those values? Ooh. Don't need that. So we load. We load the file name. We restructure the file name. And then we get the tile layer. Where do tile set file, tile set. Tiles equals tile set load. There, so it's going to be in here that we have the error. Okay, so then we load in here, we load things up. Sorry, we have the margin and we have the spacing. So if we put a breakpoint in here, and then we run things, when we get to here, what do we have in these values? So data, there is our problem. This is why we need to start writing some tests for this stuff as well, because trouble is by not having the tests, we miss out on. We don't have anything to sort of tell us when we break things like that. So we wouldn't be able to see that was a typo, for instance. But yeah, so now we've got our little we've got our map, and it's got some more. I feel like this has a lot more character to it than we had previously. All right, that's that's the tiles are updated. The other thing, as I was saying, sorry, the other thing I was doing while I was away, I was having a bit of a think, because there were mechanics I weren't entirely sure about how I wanted them to function. And because I didn't know how I wanted them to function, it was a bit of a blocker, right, in us progressing. But what I did do while I was away, though, is I had a bit of a think about some of the sort of foundational lore of the game, like what is going on in this world. So the main loop of the game is that we're gonna have a dungeon, structure that into floors. If we can get to if we can generate enough content to have 100 floors, I feel like that's a good number of floors to have. And then effectively you're going in and you're trying to climb down to the bottom floor and defeat the dungeon master, the master of this dungeon. So that's all well and good, but why are we going down there in the first place? What's going on? What is the point of all this? What's the motivation in doing this? And I was thinking that, so what I've come up with is is at a high level, the sort of high level lore of the game is that we're going to have, effectively we've got two rival pantheons of deities within the game. We're going to have like an older, more twisted set that have been sort of banished from the sort of world that the game is going to be saying. He's been pushed out into, like, effectively outside the universe of the game, where they're sort of trapped there. They're trapped there, and then this newer, younger set, who will fill in a lot of the sort of more narrative parts of it, but this younger set who were effectively created and were being abused by this previous set sort of rose up, kicked them out, and then they've sort of they've taken over. They've made the world. They've taken the mess that was left behind, and they've structured the world out of it. And then eventually, time passes, life happens. The various sort of creatures and things of the world emerge, including humanoids. So we'll have that, and then from there, this is where we come in. We'll be one of those sort of human shaped creatures, whatever we decide to call them, whatever form they take. And then you've got this previous pantheon of gods. They're sat there outside the universe, and they're pissed. They're mad. They want like back in. They want to take what was theirs. So they have created. The idea is that they have created this dungeon, and the dungeon sort of siphons mana or magic or whatever from the world, and it uses this to spawn monsters, to spawn like magical beasts. And then once there are so many in the dungeon, effectively they spill out in a stampede, and they boom, trash everything. Natural disaster level catastrophe style thing. A big enough stampede, effectively sort of, I don't know, asteroid to dinosaur level disaster. So we're gonna have the to keep this in check after previous calamities and humanity sort of surviving just about. They've set up the Adventurers Guild. The Adventurers Guild go into the dungeon, and they are there to sort of take the resources and thin out the monsters in the dungeon, to effectively to push back the chance of this stampede, reduce the risk of it. And then if they get all the way down, they kill the dungeon master, then the dungeon itself dies. And this dungeon master will be like an avatar of these old gods. And every time you kill it, they will have to sort of respawn the dungeon with a new master and commit some of the power they have left will have to be imparted to this dungeon master for it to function and manage the dungeon. So each time we kill the dungeon master, this other pantheon gets weaker. But in theory, the longer the dungeon is running and the more chaos and whatever it's causing, the stronger they're getting. So this gives us a sort of base level lore. As I said, the narrative, I've worked a little bit on some of the narrative around that. I need to flesh it out a bunch more. But that gives us something to tack things onto, right? So it's like when one of the mechanics I was thinking about is, okay, we're going to have a procedurally generated dungeon, and that dungeon will be regenerated. But when is that dungeon regenerated? And given that sort of base level lore, the answer to that now has a sensible answer, right? So the dungeon will regenerate after we beat the final boss. So we delve into the dungeon, we go down. Every 5 or 10 levels we'll have a boss. Keep moving down. The final boss is the dungeon master, hardest of them all. We beat that. That's it. The dungeon is reset. New dungeon is created. And then we can also apply new mechanics within the dungeon on each death, right? So we can have a sort of a point score, a points-based system. So each time you beat the dungeon, we can add an unlock. And those unlocks will be effectively just boons from these the newer gods, because the older ones have now weakened, so they can impart a bit more of their power into the adventurers going into the dungeon. They have a bit more influence over it. So we can. So it's given us some grounding to make these sort of decisions. The other one is I was trying to work out what would happen if you died. So what happens if you die in the dungeon? That was the other point at which I was thinking we could regenerate the dungeon. So on each death, the dungeon regenerates, but that seems a bit punishing as well. So if you are delving down into the dungeon and you die and you have your best gear, and then suddenly the dungeon has regenerated and you've lost your gear, then that's effectively a point where you might rage quit and just decide you don't want to play anymore. So I'm thinking we can actually give people a chance to go and recover their gear now. So if they die, they regenerate outside the dungeon. Their stuff's still in there. Maybe in some sort of tombstone, or we'll just scour it over the ground. And then you've got to get back down there. You've got to get your gear back. Maybe we'll put a time limit on when the gear disappears. Maybe we won't. But yeah, it gives us some by having like a base idea of how the universe functions. We can now start to think about the various mechanics. All right. With that aside, though, so one thing we did towards the end of last year, which I'm not very happy about, was that I was trying to figure out how the game objects would work. Because one thing I don't want to have to do is have this duplicate movement code, etc., across each of our game objects. And I was thinking, okay, I could put a message bus in there to sort of process these things and have the objects trigger some events, and then have the objects process those. And I think basically what I did was I reinvented a concept called ECS, Entity Component System, and I did a really crap job of it. And it's too complicated. It's not quite what I'm after. But this was mostly due to me not fully understanding how certain sort of patterns worked within. It was partly due to me not fully understanding how certain patterns worked in the concept of Lua. So I've had a bit more time to read, and I think I've come up with a way for us to do the sort of trait-based programming a bit in Lua, which was what I was initially hoping to do, but kind of couldn't get working and ended up going on this weird tangent. So I think we'll have a look at some of that now, I think. So I think what we'll do is we'll have a new folder in here called traits. And in here we'll have things like we'll have like renderable, which will be a trait. And how does this work? So we'll go trying to remember how. So we define our module. And then I'm going to add an apply method. And this will take an object. And then we need to, okay, so we've got our idea of our concept of a renderable object is that it will have a so renderable, if we look at our objects again, so a player and the slime are renderable, so they have this has an animation. Has speed, sorry, and it has a position. So, okay, so we want something that's drawable, and we want a position. So we've got object dot drawable equals drawable so we'll set the variables on that. And then what we want to do to some extent, what we want to do is we want to go for key value in the module. If object is that right? If not object.key, then object key is equal to value. So key, and then let's call this func actually rather than value. If so if it's a function, if this property is a function, and how were we checking if something started with things again? It was in, we're doing here, weren't we? Stop. There we go. And key dot sub 1, and what's the key of how's the all right, to the wiki, or to the manual even. Lua 5.1. Sub returns a string. Returns a substring of S that starts at I and continues until J. Okay, so if we go back to here, we want sub 1, and then we want we only really want the first character, I guess. Actually, in that case, we can just do that, I think. And then we want no, it's not equal to 1. Let me quickly. Yeah. Sorry. It's been. This is what happens. You take a good break, and then everything starts to fade from the mind. Okay, so we've got our function set. We set our function there. Then else key equals object. Else we're going to set a we're going to set the function here. We're going to say it takes. I think this is right. It takes variable inputs, and then I'm pretty sure we can then go self. We want to create a special little scope here. So do creates a new scope, and what we should be able to do is go old equals key. You should be able to go old self I think that's how it works. And then on top of that, we'll then go for our new method. So new equals func. And you go new yeah, so I think by putting it like this, we've got our we have our by putting it like this, we have our old we've got the original key on the object, because so what we're doing here is we're checking. Actually, let's invert this, because then it's a bit easier to explain that way. So we'll put a comment here. When key already exists, wrap it and call both methods. So we have our old and our new. So what this does is it creates a new sort of scope, and these variables, each time we run each time we're inside this do, these variables are a new. Although I don't think we need. Okay, we don't need the extra scope there. I'm just making things complicated. Yeah. So okay, so each time we run the for loop, we have this. This creates a new sort of scope for things. And what we're doing is we're creating a local sort of within this for loop. We're creating a local old variable. We're creating a local new variable which has the new function and the old function there collectively. Actually, if object.key, we also only want to do this if it's a function. Type equals, yeah. So if there's an existing function on the object, we save a copy of it. We don't need to save the new one because that's already there. Let's make this a bit clearer. So yeah, we save a copy of the existing one, and then we create a new function on the object. And we say for the existing one we're going to call it, and if I understand it correctly, this ... will pass all of the extra parameters passed here into this function instead. Let's have a quick check on that actually. Let's have a quick delve into the manual. Okay, function, no. Let's have a look for. Okay, no reference to ... where are we? Sorry. parameters act as local variables initialize the argument variables for the function is called. The list of arguments is adjusted to the length of the list of parameters unless the function is a Veredict or Verarg function, which is indicated by 3 dots at the end of its parameter list. A Verarg function does not adjust the argument list. Instead, it collects all the arguments, supplies them to the function for the Verarg expression. Okay. That returns them, but can we pass them to a new function? So we just looked at. Okay. Maybe this is not. Maybe this is not what we were after. Here, so if you call print, so that's iterating over them, but what if we want to pass them on to something? Ah, unpack, okay. The function using unpack. So, all right. So based on that, what we want is table.unpack. That should give us each of the arguments separately. So the same in the one above. And this will mean that we will effectively chain the methods. So if we've had two methods with an update, what we'll get is Yeah, if we have two methods of an update, we'll get a they'll get called the update methods will be called in sequence. So this it's a bit magical. Ideally, you'd want to sort of recurse up through them, but this will probably work for now, though. So I think we want to have we'll have a trait dollar, and I think what this needs to do is then we will have a trait, and then we'll iterate over the trait and apply each of those. So we'll make this a bit of a module, and then in our renderable one, we will do local trait equals require crawler dot traits.trait. Then here we can actually just do trait dot apply object and then m. No. What it should be is we should be looking at the meta table, shouldn't we? So if we go local mt equals get we will go mt equals so that will look up anything in the we'll create a meta table that looks up anything in the object's existing meta table, and then we'll apply our existing everything in our existing meta table will get written to that one. No, we're gonna make this a lot safer. So, and so we want to go if not so if not dest key and the so we want to. So what we're going to do is if if the value doesn't start with an underscore and the destination key doesn't exist and the type is a function, then we're going to set that value on the destination. So we're only going to copy across functions, and we're not going to copy any functions that don't. Okay, no, that's actually overkill, right? Yeah. So if the function doesn't already exist, if there's nothing already set on our object, we're gonna loop over every key on the trait, and if it's a function and it doesn't already exist on our destination, we're going to copy across. Okay, so then in here, we're going to do this in meta table. So we're going to create a new meta table that uses the existing objects meta table as. Oh no, this is going to stop it from working. It's going to stop our type checking from working, isn't it? Because at the moment we're comparing meta tables. In this part, I don't think it matters too much. I don't think it actually matters in this case, because these are the game objects, and we don't really care about their types. So we're not doing any type checking because we're not going to be manipulating them in that way. What we're going to be doing is calling functions on them, and they are going to then express. They're going to then update themselves based on those functions that are called. So yeah, I think that works. So we'll have a renderable, and then this will have update self dt, and this will. I think we put all this logic in it before, didn't we? Is it in it? No, it's on here. Okay. So bus on update velocity speed input. Here we go, draw this one. So renderable, we're going to have, on draw self so self.drawable .draw, and we're going to draw it in self dot position x and self dot position y. Oh, what did I do there? Sorry, self dot position x and self dot position y. So we're going to draw it. We will draw it at that, and our expectation of a drawable will be that a drawable will have the function draw self. So it works. Oh, we need to, well, back to the manual. That's not what we're after. Here we go, Lua cats. No, okay, referring to symbols, tips. We can have document types, tables, inches, okay. Function, so we got, this is fun. Okay, so this has a self. The return type is nil. And then we're going to want a so that means we want drawable to be something that has a draw function. And then that also has to have so we have drawable is a function that will have a self argument, an x argument, and a y argument. And then drawable itself is an object that has that draw method. And then position is a vector2, which we'll put and then what is it, module. We'll bring our vector2 module in. Yeah, and then this is a vector2 for position. We set the drawable and the position on the object. Cool. So then next we'll have a movable. And this will have instead of this, I have a position and a velocity. Both of these are vector2s. do this. I realised that wasn't actually going to make any difference, so what we actually need to do is go we're going to add the metatable key. We're going to get the metatable there, and then at the bottom here we're going to maybe that's a better pattern. Yeah, okay. So we're going to update the metatable with the stuff, and then in the trait we don't need these bits. Fix to workspace things. That's not in here. Cool. Okay, so we've got our we're updating the metatable and we're adding the function. So we've got a draw function on this one, and then on our movable we'll have an update. And then for that one, we will come back here. So where are we updating? Position. So our movable gets that. So we're now moving. Animation animatable. This will have a here we'll also import the animation. Import the animation, and then down here we have the so animation to animation. We don't need a position for the animation. This will update, and the animate. What do we have for the animation? Oh, we just called animation to update. Oh, no, that was the wrong one. It's this one, wasn't it? So we'll just call animation to update with the delta time. Maybe we'll take the position here as well. So we go position, which is a vector 2. And what we'll do is we'll do local drawable equals require traits. Oh, renderable. Drawable is actually probably a better name for that, isn't it? Let's go for drawable. So our drawable, our movable, our animatable. Our animatable will automatically meta table okay. Because of that, we know that this will be drawable. Yeah, so now we have our so we have drawable, animatable, movable. This was controllable. So I have controllable, and this will be similar to our this will be similar to the animatable in that it's a sort of a subtrait of movable. So we'll go movable dot apply table. There we go. And then in the update, we will call we'll update it, call the movable, but then we need the logic from here on how things move. we will need a method. Sorry, we need to pass the speed as well. And the speed is a number. Okay. And then this is, oh, we need our vector 2 as well. So let's actually import that properly rather than just into the type system. Oh, hello Story, welcome in and thanks for joining. How are you today? Hope you are having a good weekend. Yeah, so that's now copied, I think, most of the logic we had in this horrible, messy nonsense that we did last time. So we can get rid of all of that and that. Okay. Actually, then we want to do table insert a new player. Ooh. Where are we? My weekend is going good, thank you. It's unfortunately coming to an end now, but I guess I can't really complain though, because I have been skiving off work for quite a while now. It's been a good little while since I actually went to work. So oh, yeah, we didn't need any of that anymore, do we? So I guess I have to get back to it at some point. I guess I can't gallivant forever. Let's simplify these down. And this was a slime. We never actually used the name, so I'm going to take those out for now. We want things to be, we don't want to be adding random things now. Cool. So we've got, so we've changed up how things work. So we've got the, yeah, it's, I think I finished work on the 20-something of January. So I broke up. I finished on the Friday before Christmas, effectively, and then I didn't go back until Thursday this week. So a 2-day stop at work. Not too bad. Right, so this is the player. So then with this, with the traits, so we want an init. Yeah, I think it was about 5 weeks. Well, 4.5, but yeah, I am pretty good at slacking. Pretty good at slacking, and then with any luck, I will also be leaving there soon. Anyway, and going off to start a new business. Hi Aaron as well. Welcome in. Welcome in. Everyone's joining at the same time, it seems. But yeah, I'm starting a new business. So I've worked for a lot of arseholes over the years, and now I'm going to be the arsehole. Oh, well, not that working for myself ever actually particularly stopped me from being an arsehole, but damn it, I thought I'd try and get that one in before Aaron could, but I knew that was coming, but yeah, I'll always be the arsehole to Aaron. Okay, let's fix my terrible spelling now. Okay, so we've got that. Yeah, Aaron, you missed the law dump. That was a bit earlier. What I've been doing now is trying to clear up the mess I made before with how the game objects work. So now there should be a bunch simpler. So yes, this is going to be local MT. Yeah, no, I think we've almost finished fixing things up now. So index equals M. So what we've created is we should now be able to go local traits equals require crawler.traits, and this is our player. So player is controllable. Oh, hang on, no, well, animatable. Create our animation. Yeah, so dot apply. Did I forget something here? I've got some returns, that's what I did. Return M there. Return M there. I didn't need this extra meta table thing in here, and I need to make sure I return each of these. Yeah, Aaron, you I know you're only here for the lore, but you may have missed it. I did go over a bit at the beginning, but I can recap a bit for you I'm mindlessly fixing up some of this code. So as I can sort of decide how things are going to work in a lot of the game, I decided to go back and try and look at the lore and work out the why rather than the what. So I sort of came up with the fundamental reason of why the world of the game exists and why it's in the state it's in. And we're gonna crib a bit from ancient Mesopotamia, a bunch of other, a bit from the Greeks and a bit from some other religions, cosmologies over the years, and we're gonna have effectively a couple of warring pantheons of deities. So yeah, Mesopotamia. I can never actually pronounce this. It's basically the region around where modern day Iran, Iraq, etc. is. Basically the birthplace of civilization. So when you look Mesopotamia. Alright. I will. Yeah, but so that part of the world has like some of the most interesting sort of lore and religion and etc. you'll find when it comes to stories. So like a lot of the modern stories we know from other religions, they were sort of cribbed from there as well. So like the Great Flood myth, etc. is a retelling of it, of something from their mythology and stuff like that. So it's got a load of interesting stuff there, and so I thought I'd take a bit from there, and then we've also got like the I thought I'd crib a little bit from the Greeks. So we've got our two warring pantheons of gods, a bit from Tolkien and things as well, as the mythology he wove was quite interesting. But yeah, effectively we're gonna sort of at a high level, two warring pantheons of gods. The one sort of usurped the origin deities, created a universe, created like a cosmos, and then they've sort of created themselves a new sub pantheon of god, of like deities that effectively are just there to serve them. The sub pantheon gets a bit annoyed. The newer pantheon gets annoyed. They sort of cast the bad ones outside the known universe, but cribbing a bit from Tolkien there with how he treated how was it Melchior? And yeah, we're gonna basically this OG pantheon is now stuck outside of the cosmos, and it's pissed. It wants back in. It wants its stuff back. The other ones have basically just made everything good and proper, staying out of the way. They're behaving, and then effectively the world has gone on. It's flourished. It's life. Human beings or something similar to them have evolved. or come about some way. So a lot of the finer points of the narrative still need fleshing out, but yeah, because we've got those two warring factions. The one's on the outside, one back in, and they've basically created the labyrinth to sort of try and trash what's there, weaken it, and extract some power for themselves. So the labyrinth is there. It's basically just a parasite. It's like a parasite in reality. They're sucking the mana out of the world, creating a load of monsters. Too many monsters, and suddenly, boom, they come flying out like a stampede. Trample everything, and then we've got a sort of natural disaster level problem going on. Okay, I think I've sorted these out now. So if I do traits.any animatable. Here we go. Yeah. So we've got these. We've got the this. As I said, we've got this pantheon of gods that is causing trouble. They've created the labyrinth. It's a parasite. It's sort of siphoning off mana and then using that to cause trouble for everyone else. And so after a few of these stampedes, we've now got an adventurers guild, and their job is to go in and sort of thin out the number of monsters in the dungeon so that it's not overflowing, it's not stampeding, it's not just like trashing everything. And with that, we've now got a bunch of stuff to use to sort of inspire our functionality. So part of what I couldn't sort of decide on in functionality wise is like, we know that the dungeon is going to regenerate, but we don't really know. It's a bit like they're inside Tyros, but worse. They're basically they're cast outside of the known universe and into the chaos that exists out there. They're like way out. But yeah. So like what some of the questions I had was like, why does the dungeon regenerate? And why are we in there to begin with? So we've now got that, right? We want to stop the stampedes. That's why we're in there. That's why we're doing this. That's our motivation. And then we've got like, why does the dungeon regenerate as well? Because we've defeated like the champion of these old gods that is managing the dungeon, that is effectively consisting of its core. And now they've got to start again. So they've generated a new dungeon. So we've got that. It's like, and then one of the questions I sort of had is like, when we die in the dungeon, does the dungeon regenerate? Because that was a mechanic that I could have had. But when we look at it through the frame of this sort of high level lore, that doesn't actually make sense. Like, there would be no reason to regenerate the dungeon just because it had been it'd been trashed. Sorry, just because some guy had come in and died in it, there's no reason to go through all the effort of regenerating the dungeon at that point. So it effectively doesn't make any sense for us to regenerate at that point. We have animate. Okay, and then because both of these are update, the update method will need will there be a lake of fire like in Hades? Probably not as a actual thing, but one of the things that I will one of the things that I will definitely be looking at is we'll need some sort of lava biome will definitely need to happen. So we may see lakes of fire, lakes of lava, but yeah, that's going to be coming up. We're going to have to sort of come up with some algorithms later to sort of define these biomes and the rough shapes they're going to take on the map, and then to effectively create things within them. Can't have a game without lava. No, you cannot. Although it is highly annoying in most games, so I'm not sure how it's going to function in this, but we'll probably have some at some point. But oh, you guys also missed out on our. I have created new tiles, so check this out. We have there's still a few that are work in progress, like over here. This one here is not quite finished, but yeah, we've got can I actually let me show you. Well, I've updated the map. We've got a new. It's far more interesting now, I think. And let me change the window over to the back to the graphics. Where's Affinity Photo? But yeah, so we've got we have a tile set. So I sat there with an iPad on the plane and while traveling and stuff, and a few other points during the holiday when I was a bit bored. And I have hand sort of sketched pixel by pixel this whole set. So I've got our original set of like the grass. And I have a slightly can I get a better preview of this? No, I think that's fine. But yeah, we've got the border between the grass and the path is a bit better now. I still need to put a couple of extra details on here to make it feel that the texture of the grass and path to feel a bit more interesting, but I don't want it to be too busy. But yeah, then we've got the transition with the border. I swear I hate these border tiles. I'll be happy if I never have to draw another border tile in my life. But we've also got the path to the water transition. We've got the sort of path intersections between path, grass, and water. I'm starting to realize just how many tiles it's going to take. And then yeah, there's a few here that are still I haven't got around to drawing yet, but this is giving us a much cooler looking game. So I'm sure by the end of the process, we'll have tiles that look nothing like that. But it is how many miles or kilometers in the map? There is not that much at the moment. As I said, at the moment the map is just a little quick thing to the map is just a little quick thing to test that the tiles actually work and that we can actually render them. So, but when we start to actually create the dungeon, I think I want to try and have like 100 different floors to the dungeon. And then each of those floors will be randomly generated. So maybe we choose a theme. We'll have like some cold ones, some hot ones, some sort of temperate floors. I'm thinking like maybe we'll go in batches. So maybe every 5 or maybe we'll go like every 5 floors or every 10 floors we have a single theme for that, and then at the bottom of that we have like a boss monster. So it'd be like floors 1 to 4, or sorry, 1 to 9 will be like more of a maze, and then floor 10 will be just a much smaller floor, but it'll be a room with a boss in there. I'm thinking that taking that, I'm also thinking that I might look at maybe varying it. So some will be sort of some floors will be sort of windy, sort of underground tunnels. Others will be big open areas. Some will be dark, some will be lighter. I think that'll give us a nice sort of nice mix of stuff. But yeah, it's the sort of wider level plan is starting to come together in my head a bit more. But with with settling some of the other questions, I started to come up with some more. So if the dungeon doesn't go away as soon as you die, and you can sort of survive in there, and you could be in this. If I go 100 floors, that's quite a lot of terrain to be traversing, right? So then I started thinking, it's like, do we want to start allowing things like do we want to start allowing things like building inside the dungeon? So like, do we want to allow people? Do we want to allow someone to set up like a forward base as they're moving down, somewhere that's a bit more defended, a bit safer? I was also thinking that we'd maybe have a base in the town at the start. So in the start, at the start of in the starting town, we'll have a base. And that'll be our main base. But do we want to allow people as they're progressing down to just pulling in our traits again here? Do we want to allow people to maybe build a little forward in base? Do we want to allow them to change things as they go? So do we want to because I was thinking we have our paths and stuff, tiles that I've drawn. Do we want to allow people to just create a path through the dungeon so that they can sort of actually create roads to where they need to go? Do we want to allow farming in there? Because part of me is like, maybe all of that exists outside the dungeon, because then otherwise you're going to have to rebuild everything each time you go in. I think the ancient Macedonian stuff had a pretty grim view of eternity. So effectively, you lived and then you died, and then no matter what you did in life, you basically just ended up in a hole underground with no food and water and stuff for eternity. And it didn't matter if you were a king or a pauper. Basically, it was a you're all the same in the end, mate. Deal. Believer, unbeliever. It's actually. So what is this one? This is an animated board as well. Dot apply, and then we have self. Table, animation, position, and then this is a movable So yeah, it was a bit. It was a little bit grim, some of that stuff, but yeah, I'm sort of. Part of me is thinking that I wanna have some sort of base outside. So initially you'll start with nothing, but as you start to get resources from the dungeon, you can sort of buy some land, put a house up on it, have a little garden, grow some of the crops from the garden, from the dungeon maybe. Or farm some of the less lethal things. Yeah, it's it's definitely these bits are a bit of a head scratcher now as well. I like the idea of little forward bases as you go. So like as you descend into the dungeon, you're sort of setting up these little bits as you go to make everything a bit better. And I was also thinking, it's like we kind of need a bit of fast travel, right? So if you've got to go down, if you're towards the end of the game, and if you've got to go up and down 90 different floors each time to get back to your base, no, not doing it. That's a bit rubbish, right? So we kind of need a way to get out quick and to get back to where we were. I'm thinking there's a couple of ways we could do that. And one would be that we have some sort of fast travel portal after each boss, so you can sort of warp down to a room that you can only get to after defeating each boss, and then you can carry on from there. So if we have if we're going in batches of 10 floors, then you can sort of warp down to floors and start from floors like 11, 21, 90, etc., 91. The other one is if we allow people to actually put together a little base in there, though, we could have a bit more. We could have more stuff down there. We can have sort of we can have some sort of rare item. So wherever you set up base, you could sort of construct this rare sort of waypoint. Okay, let's see how much we've broken things. Okay, well, we have a map. We have nothing on there to see. So that's unfortunate. So did we get? Oh. Did we get any errors or warnings or anything while that was going? No. Okay, so why is this not drawing our things? So we want our drawable traits drawable. And then we want a breakpoint there. If we run again, this is not getting called. So okay, what have we done wrong here? Let's follow our logic, because it's actually now that we've simplified things down, it's actually a lot easier to follow some of this through. So are we setting things up properly? So if we start again and we look at the objects, we have globals, So we have two things in here. Okay, this is a meta table. This is a draw function. This is a draw function. Oh no, this sorry. Yeah, this has a draw function. I'm not getting called though. Okay, let's progress a bit more. So we have that's the map. Okay, no, I see what's happening. So this is just me being. This is me just being an idiot and not understanding Lua again. So I was passing the meta tables around, but I don't actually need to do that. So I made this all more complicated than it needed to be. So in each of these, we don't need that, and we pass the object in here. Yeah. 100 floors that touch a central chamber where you can get in and out. See, 100 floors with a central chamber though, if your goal is to descend and there is a central chamber that you can just nip right down to the bottom through, why would you go in at all? It's a question. And then the other thing I was thinking as well is like, if there is, the idea is that there will be multiple adventurers in the dungeon at any one time. Like, you're not going to be the only one in there. Everyone is in the town exists so that people can, to support people that are going in there to sort of fight these things off. Then if that is the case, why would you like there's got to be more than one person in there. It can't just be they can't just, it wouldn't make sense to just be going, okay, you're going into the hellscape and you're going to fight things off until you eventually sort of kick it, and then we'll get someone else and we'll send them in. That's a bit too douchey. So, like, with that in mind, I guess we kind of need to send things. It's like, if we're gonna have, I think I think it will be some sort of contraption after each floor. We'll come up with some sort of in-game lore as to why you can basically teleport to just after the last boss you beat. But I think we'll have all the base building outside of the dungeon, or maybe we'll even allow teleportation to any floor you've actually been to. Some sort of spell that will allow you to teleport to somewhere you've been before. Like within the dungeon, but you kind of have to see it first to be able to get down there. I think that's the that's probably the vibe. Yeah. So I think that's probably the vibe. Of what we're looking at. But I do kind of want to allow you to sort of do a bit of base building, because everyone loves a bit of base building, right? So I think that's going to be our sort of way forward. Forward there. But it doesn't mean that the things inside the dungeon shouldn't be sort of... You should be able to actually make a mark on the dungeon. So maybe we do have some sort of light building. Like, one of the hardest things in procedural generation is making sure that every level is playable. So if we make the if we make the dungeon playable, sorry, if we make the dungeon like editable, you can sort of knock down walls and things, then suddenly that becomes less of a problem. It'd be a really lazy thing to do, but no, I think we should probably aim for a nice playable level. Have it so that you can actually fully traverse the whole level, and maybe not have too much destructible stuff in there. But I want to try and have resource points as well. So I want you to be able to go in and get like harvest grass, or maybe not grass, but I don't know, harvest like a healing plant or something, a herb. That can be used to make potions. Here we go. This is getting far simpler. Our game code is for what we had, considering it's starting to get far more sensible and thing. Yeah, I want to have resources of some sort, but I was thinking it'd all be drops from monsters, but maybe we want to have some sort of mining, some sort of gathering of plants and stuff. So we'll need some specialized tools, I guess, for that. And so this is better. Okay, so we've got got our keyboard control, and we've got our rendering working, but this other little dude who normally just goes off the side, he is not moving, so we'll have to have a quick look at that. But yeah, we're definitely going to need some sort of resource-based stuff. Will I release it to public? Yeah. I mean, the idea is I'll build it and then hopefully I'll put it on Steam or something. Maybe I'll whack it in the Mac App Store as well, and a few other places. If we can get this to build, then maybe we can get it to build and put it on iPads and Apple TVs and other such things. Yeah, Steam is a good place to sell games, and it sounds as if they have a bunch of really cool tools. But well, from what I've heard, from what I've worked out, and it's like I was watching something from Pirate Software, the streamer, and he was saying that it's very basically, if you do the marketing and sell, you can basically mint as many Steam keys as you want, and you can sell them and do things through other platforms, and Steam never takes a cut. So if you do the marketing yourself, it's like quite handy, but there is like £100 fee for listing on Steam, which is supposed to be a deterrent against just asset flippers and things like that. But that's going to be a whole other set of things to learn and figure out. So we'll have to look at that. Well, yeah, it's £100, but then after you've sold so many copies and whatever, and made so much money, you get it back, I think. But so if you prove you've got a legit game, then you can have your money back. But to be honest, if Steam wants a cut, then Steam can have a cut if they help me push it out. And I have a company I own that I can run all the finances and stuff through, so. Yeah, I think they take a fair cut if they if the sale comes through Steam, but if you sell outside of Steam, so you can go mint a whole bunch of keys, just sell them through your own website or sell them through Humble Bundle or something, and then everything runs through Steam's infrastructure, all the updates, everything else, and that sounds like a good. Sounds like a good way of doing it. I was also thinking maybe you could go through the Mac App Store, but the thought of dealing with the Apple approval system is not quite. Well, doesn't sound as appealing as that appealing. Okay, so why is this other little dude not moving? So we have movable. We give it a velocity. Then slime position velocity. Pass that into movable. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, any idea of selling this on Steam and whatever is a long shot at the moment. We don't even have any real sort of gameplay and stuff, but we're getting there. We're getting there, and the whole reason I'm sort of doing this as a set of streams as well is that it's effectively this is me adding some accountability to stuff. So historically, I have a habit of starting projects, and then work gets busy and so on, and then I'm just like, oh, and I stop with, I sort of just, my personal project sort of fades away to the side. Whereas now I'm doing this, you guys are there, you can see that I'm doing it. If I'm not doing it, then I need you guys to come shout at me. Be like, dude, where's my game? So it's definitely got an update method, but why is it not moving? So let's give it another run. And this one, this is the player, and this is the player again, and this is the player again. So it's not getting called for that. So I'm guessing there's something wrong in this movable one. So we add the position. So we add that, we update let's create this over. Okay. What's our call stack? So we're in this is player one. Okay, so we're in the slime. So let's step in, skip to the end here. Oh, damn it. Ah, hang on. No, I know what's happening. So the slime, we need to add a, yeah. So what happened is this is getting the update function from animate but not from movable. So we just need to go trait start animatable dot update self dt and traits dot movable dot update self dt. There we go. So now if we run it, let's let me clear out some of these breakpoints. Hey, there we go. So we've got movement back from our thing. Do I think I could have some issues? You could take as pull requests from a grad dev in a month or two. I kind of want to keep this one as just sort of single contributor, I think. I don't think I want to take contributions. Just because when taking contributions, you sort of want to have a good idea of what you're doing, or what the end looks like, and if I don't, and at the moment I have no idea what I'm doing, so if I don't know what the end looks like, how do I communicate that to someone else so that they know they are on the same page and that they, like, the contributions they make will be heading in the same direction. I mean, if they're just looking for something to, if they're looking for just programming projects and they wanna make some PRs, and I've got other projects. I've got some Python projects that I'll happily take PRs on. There's a lot of stuff to do on those, and I have not had the time to give it the care and attention that it so rightly deserves. But yeah, I think this is actually starting to come together now. This whole thing. I kind of like what we did with these as well, with the init.lures in the trait and the objects one. So I think I might add one of those for the engine as well. So if I go in here and I go init.lure, and then we local m is equal to empty return m, and then here we just go m dot animation equals require animation. This whole message bus thing can go away. Don't need that. Got rid of it. Yeah, in a lot of my projects, I tend to create issues for stuff just as and use it as a to-do list, but which I might actually start doing with this project when we get more to a point where I have concrete things I want to get done. But yeah, as it stands, I don't really know. I don't really know how this is going to shape and what path we're going. So like we've been through in as many streams we've been through 3 different ways for the game objects to work, which is not quite ideal, but we're figuring it out, and we're wrapping our heads around things. So now if I come back to here, I should actually just be able to go engine equals require engine, and then here we go. Yeah, this is starting to look very clean now. Yeah, I've got a bunch of Python web related things that I'm always happy to take contributions on, and when I get to the point where some of these things make sense, I might spin them out into a separate project. So, like this vector2 library, when this has actually got a useful number of functions in there. So I think at the moment we can just, all it does is normalize vectors. I added a couple of other things just because the math was interesting me around like the angle of a vector. But once this is fleshed out a lot more, then this probably should live outside of this project. It should be its own little library. And when we get there, then that will be a thing that I will be more than happy to take pull requests and stuff on. When we get there, I do not know. But we'll hopefully get there at some point. Okay, so this is coming together. So at the moment we have one layer. We have our tile layer. I think, and this we can load. So we have our tile map, and we can load. We can now create a empty map with, create a map manually with the layers, or we can load it in from a file. So I think we're going to spend some more time with our map engine in the future, because I think it'd be cool to be able to, well, I think we have a tile layer. I think what we also need is a terrain layer. So I feel like the tile set needs to have a proper concept of terrains. I feel like the tile set needs to have a proper concept of terrains. Sorry. It does not need to know about locomotives. And then I feel like we need a terrain map that effectively, instead of having terrain layer, which effectively, instead of having this this data, which is the tiles, it will have the terrains instead, and will instead generate the tiles based on this. No, that's not the right one. Well, based on the terrain data. So, and then that will be where we start to then apply some algorithms. So we'll do some sort of programmatic map generation. Probably we'll start with just, can we draw a square of tiles, a square of grass or a square of path on a grass map, and then have it render out with all of the various different tiles, and then we'll move from there. We'll move up to, can we generate some sort of, can we use some, I don't know, some noise functions, which generates like random values in like a spread of random values across X and Y. Can we use that to generate something more interesting? So can we generate a map with a lake in the middle, or for instance, but that lake be different every time. So I think that's where we're going to start to move forward. Probably also need to look at tiles as well. So I'll continue to work on these in my off stream a bit, but yeah, there is a lot. So this is literally just the grass, the path, and the water. So we've got, what have we got to add to this? We need sand, I guess, as well. We're going to add some beaches at any point. Probably need to add some deep water as well, because I'm thinking this maybe, I don't know, maybe we allow swimming in this, but we're still going to need to fence people off. Or we'll at least need a transition into deeper water as it gets further out. Even if we allow sort of swimming or sailing or something. I'm going to need some wall tiles, so I'm going to need cave walls. So I'm going to need a bunch of different styles of that as well, I guess. Because if we're going to have different biomes, we're going to have different kinds of caves, I guess. So we're going to need like some jungly caves. We're going to need some fire and brimstone caves. We're going to need some watery caves. But, yeah, well, to make story happy, we're gonna need some lava tiles. Aaron, no. No man caves and lady caves. That's what the base building will be for. But yeah, so we're gonna need a bunch of different tiles. So, I mean, I think this lot here has probably taken me, just to get this far. This is probably about maybe 15 plus hours of work, maybe more. Might even be it might even be 20 hours of work just to get these where they are. I guess as time goes by and I get better at the pixel art, I will get better at I'll get better at drawing them. But yeah, I had 2 4-hour flights. Well, I had 2 4-hour flights plus a 2-hour delay on a plane. So that was that's 10 hours that I was just sat there doodling on these tiles to begin with. Then there were some other times I sat there working on it, but I need to fly more. That's an expensive way to create tiles. But yeah, I need more downtime, I think is the thing there. But yeah, the each of these is, as I said, they're all mostly hand drawn. I mean, I have been using some copy pasta, but it doesn't tend to work too well. It doesn't work in all places, so it works a lot better in, say, here. This is sort of a bit of a copy paste from 2 of the other tiles, but like this transition here and here, these all had to be hand done, and this one as well. These ones I could get away with a bit of copy pasting, but yeah, these had to be sort of hand cranked and tweaked. There's a sulfuric acid cave. See, we're just creating more and more tile sets for me to draw now. So I think what I actually need is a set of cave tiles, and then maybe we can put some sulfuric acid. I think I probably need some. Probably need to come up with some cave tiles that are just work. So then if I put a pool of water in there, then it's sort of quite innocuous. But if I put a pool of lava or a pool of sulfuric acid, sulfuric acid would be a bad one, right? Because from memory, sulfuric acid is clear, so it would just look like the water tiles. But I don't know, sulfur, but like a sulfur cave or something, just because why shouldn't the protagonist have to put up with a cave that smells of eggs? Well, yeah, rotten eggs and farts seems like a good way to torture our hero. But yeah, so I could just look at like maybe adding some sort of kind of gassy cloud or something. You've been in a sulfur mine and it wasn't great. I don't know, I've been in some sulfur hot springs and they weren't too great either. And I think if the hot springs aren't great, I'll pass on the cave. Because hot springs are pretty baller. But yeah, I think it bothers me as well that these are very plain. And I mean, I guess you kind of want it is the background though. So I probably don't want too noisy a texture, right? Because then it's going to distract the eye to away from what you're looking at. And I guess once we've got some bushes and some buildings and stones and things like that on top of these, it will look a bit better. But yeah, cliffs and walls, I think is going to be, and stone walls and cliffs is going to be the next, probably the next thing I should add to this, because I at least when we're generating these maps, I need to be able to ring it in a wall, just to stop you falling off the edge of the map. Sulfur is the most abundant substance on Earth. It's also one of the most pungent substances on Earth. Yeah, I mean, a little sort of sulfury biome is probably not a bad bet, because I guess sulfur is used in a lot of stuff. Trying to think. Trying to think what the recipe for gunpowder is. Doesn't that not have some? Is there sulfur in that? Let's how to make gunpowder. I'm gonna get myself on some lists. Saltpeter, I know, is one of them. That's yeah, saltpeter, sulfur, and charcoal. So um, so yeah, if we have any kind of when we get to the crafting system, if we have any kind of projectiles, I guess, or explosives, we're gonna need some stuff, because we're gonna need to have some sort of biomes that we can get this. But yeah, just so as we mine, we'll probably give folks some of the saltpeter, some of the sulfur, and then we can have. I'm guessing we'll have some sort of wood in there, wooden stuff in there as well. When we look at plant, also when we look at like plant-based monsters as well, I guess some of those will drop wood. But that will give us wood. If we have wood, we can then make charcoal. God, we're gonna end up with a horrifically terrible tech tree in this, aren't we? Or crafting tree. If I start going to that level of detail. So that is 3 ingredients. That is four ingredients and 2 transformations just to go from raw materials into gunpowder. And gunpowder in itself will then need additional materials to then be combined with additional materials to then create anything useful as a weapon, right? So if we're going to create a bomb, we're probably going to need some sort of housing for it. If we're going to create bullets for some sort of gun class, then we'll need metal as well for that. And then you've got all the ingredients for the weapons as well on top of that. It's like, well, Okay. Oh, that is that's going to be an interesting an interesting part to get built. But anyway, I think I'm going to call it here for the stream. Thank you, Aaron and Story, for joining me. I feel like we've got. I feel like we've got things into a much nicer state here. I mean, this is the when we look at this, we probably need to look a bit more at the character and the movement as well. Maybe that's something else we can look at. But yeah, I feel like we're definitely making some progress, right? It's like if we compare this to what is this, week 6? So 6 weeks, and I haven't really been doing much on it outside of these streams. So we're getting it feels like it's actually moving quite well. So yeah. So thank you for joining. I will be back next week, and we'll go back to our usual weekly cadence of streams. So I will also be I'll also be streaming Minecraft Skyblock on the other channel. Is the bot awake? Yeah. I'll be streaming Minecraft Skyblock on the other channel on Wednesday. That will be back to its usual time. And if you like the video, give it a like. If you are joining us for the first time and want to see more, then hit the subscription button and mash the notification bell. And thank you to Aaron and Story for joining me, and I will see you all next time. Bye.